everybody, and welcome to the next session of Facing an Interview. Here I would like to take up two topics. One is talking about the body language that we need to be very careful of, and secondly, the perfect handshake. Of course, at this time of hour, the perfect handshake doesn't seem to really matter at all, but because it's in the part of the syllabus, therefore I'll be talking about the perfect handshake as well. So let's get going. So whenever we talk about body language, what is it that comes to your head? The moment you meet somebody, we always think about, oh my God, this is the way he's walking. This is the way he's talking. This is the way he's gesticulating. Look at the way his eyes are. Things like that convey what we call body language. So in a way, if we talk about it from the dictionary point of view, we can say it's a conscious as well as unconscious movement and posture by which the attitudes and the feelings of the person are conveyed. If you are very sad, your walk will be showing the people around that you are sad. Or if you're very happy, the way you move your hands, the way your eyes, become big in excitement, all of these also are a part of body language, and sometimes it happens consciously and sometimes unconsciously. So when we talk about body language, an important part is the part of communication. Now communication is conveying your thoughts. Now this can be done in two processes. One, which is known as the verbal communication, like I am talking to you. That is verbal communication. But I'm using my hands to gesticulate. That is known as the non-verbal communication. It is a part of the non-verbal communication. Surprisingly, verbal communication makes up only 35% of the entire communication process, but non-verbal, it makes up 65%. Therefore, it is very important that we understand both these very well, so that we try to build up a personality which sees a balance between the verbal and the non-verbal communication, and you're very conscious about how you're actually trying to communicate, and when you communicate consciously or unconsciously, what are the attitudes that you're conveying to the person who's listening to you. Always be very careful about the pace of your voice. I'm talking about verbal communication. When you try to talk, give due respect to each word. You do not run to get to the end of the sentence. That's very important. It shows a lot about your personality. Therefore, it's very important that you tell each word with the perfect pronunciation and of course with the perfect spacing between the words so that they sound good. Because it's very important that the person who's listening to you can understand that you're telling the words properly. And in fact, you're not running to get to the end of the sentence. One more thing, we need to focus. Say for instance, when we are trying to tell a sentence, whatever I want to focus on, the message I want to convey, I want the other person to listen. That particular word should be told very strongly. I'm just trying to give you an example. Of course, I'll be doing an entire chapter on that, on the basics of how you can actually pronounce each word in English perfectly, whether in isolation or in a sentence. And I'm going to give you the basics without much of the science of the phonetics. If I'm talking about from this point of view, that is just a verbal communication, as a student who's trying to learn verbal communication and not learn phonetics or the science of the spoken language. Therefore, say for instance in this sentence here, I want you to take the dog for a walk. So we have many words here. I want you to take the dog for a walk. Now listen to the way I'm telling it. The moment I focus on one particular word, that word gives a different meaning to the entire sentence. Say for instance, if I tell you, I want you to take the dog for a walk, it means it is I who wants it, not anybody else. I can also tell with a focus on you. I want you to take the dog for a walk. Means I do not want anybody else to take it, you have to take it. Or I can also tell you, I want you to take the dog for a walk. Means I do not want you to take my cat for a walk, I want you to take the dog for a walk. Or I can tell, I want you to take the dog for a walk. Means I do not want you to take my dog for a run. Therefore, The moment I change the focus or give more importance to a particular word, that sentence, the meaning of the sentence changes. Therefore, in verbal communication, you can always change the meaning of a particular sentence by changing the tone of your voice. That's very, very important, therefore, to be careful about what you're emphasizing when you're telling something. Further, taking the same concept further about verbal communication, we need to remember that the tone of our voice also gives a lot of meaning to a sentence. The way we respond to something. If somebody tells hello and we tell hello, so it feels you're a little down. If somebody tells hello, we tell hello. And the person notes you're in a very, very good mood. Therefore, it's very important to modulate the tone of your voice and try to convey what you're feeling inside outside also, because it automatically gets conveyed. Therefore, take hold of the tone of your voice. We can do a lot about the tone of the voice in later chapter. But for now, remember, a high tone shows excitement, hello, and a low tone, hello, shows a little dull feeling there. Now let us come to the main part of the body language, that is non-verbal communication. It makes up 65% of the entire communication process, as I mentioned earlier. Therefore, it's very important that your body language is very, very positive. So what happens is that, what are the examples of body language? Like, say, for instance, the facial expression. The way you're knitting your eyebrows, it shows that you're angry. The way you're smiling, everything about your face is like a book which is open. Therefore, be careful about the look, the facial expression that you carry. The second thing is that, as I told you some time back, language tone. Say somebody knocks on the door and I tell yes. The other person feels, oh my God, she's very, very, I think she's doing something and she's not very, free to meet me. I can tell yes, means I'm free, I'm relaxed, please come in, no problem. If I tell yes, means it's a matter of fact, I'm not interested. Therefore, the tone of your voice is very important part of your non-verbal communication. It tells a lot, in fact. And one more thing it's very important is your eye contact. You need to be completely in contact, eye to eye, with the person you're talking. If you look here and you look there, it shows that you're not interested. Or you look down and talk, it means that you are not confident. So it's very important, these aspects. That means you need to maintain an eye contact. Furthermore, the way you move, say for instance you open the door and you come inside the interview hall. The way you walk itself will already create an impression about what sort of a personality you are. If you are walking, very briskly, shows a nervous personality. If you are very elegantly walking, it gives a very positive, impression. Therefore, the movement of your hand, your body, your head, your eyes, everything has to play a role in the body language. Further, even your posture, the way you're sitting down, the way you're standing, you're slouching, all of these also is very important and is a very important part of body language. Further, the appearance. When you meet somebody, you're always impressed if the person is dressed properly, right? So your appearance, the look, we have this saying that all that glitters is not gold. But here, when you're talking about approaching an interview, meeting somebody for the first time, your appearance it has to play a major role. Therefore, as far as possible, you need to dress well. Dress well doesn't mean dress you wear on very costly clothes. Simple clothes done well, ironed well, and where you look good, which you can carry. That's very important. Your appearance should not be something you're not very comfortable with. Your dress should not be something that you're not comfortable in, because that is also a part of body language. And of course, communication and your gestures. There's so many people we remember by the way they talk. Like we have this famous CID television series where they tell kuch to garbar hai. What does it show? That is gesticulation, your gestures, the way you talk. You use your hand. What are you doing this in the air? But you're trying to tell something. That is also a part of the non-verbal communication and a major part of body language. And therefore, how we carry our body is a non-verbal representation of how we are actually feeling and our attitudes at that particular moment of time. And we need to be very careful about that. Further, how we carry our bodies can communicate as much as words can communicate. Therefore, body language becomes a very important topic of discussion. Now let us go to proper body language. Now what is body language? It can be either a positive body language or a negative body language. Now what is actually positive body language? In fact, if I'm talking about body language, it doesn't have a grammar, but it can tell sentences. What do I mean by that? That is, your body language conveys so much to the person who is seated before you, walking before you, who talks to you. It tells a lot about your personality. Like say for instance, some of the positive body languages are like, if you talk with somebody and this person, you like the person, he or she is a likable personality. He or she is, you feel very comfortable with that person and interesting. That some people you talk to, you feel interested in that person, right? Because of his particular body language, which is positive. He gives out positive vibes. Or say might be he has a personality which is dignified, she has a personality which is dignified and which is not, has no sense of dominance. You do not feel submissive, or you do not feel the pressure of being dominated by their personality. Those are positive body languages. So we cannot tell this is positive body language, that is positive body language. But when you come in contact with the person, that silent, subtle play of emotions, the play of, when you meet the person, the way he or she appears before you, all of them can be positive body language. Further, one more thing you need to remember when you meet somebody for the first time, and as I always tell you, looking to the face and looking eye to eye, your body is straight and you are confident. You should look confident when you talk. You should look positive when you talk. You should not be trying to run away from anybody you meet. That will become a part of your negative body language. Further, your hands should not be claps in, like the way if you stand like this, for instance, it shows that you're not open to any sort of discussion, right? That is negative. You should never clasp your hands together, cross like this and stand. Further, whenever we're talking about a face, right, I think the most beautiful part of the face is the smile. You need to smile. You do not need to smile from year to year, but you need to smile a little. Because the smile is something that really, covers up anything else. It gives this feeling of warmth. But remember, there's something called a fake smile and a true smile. When you tell it's a fake smile, you automatically, you know it. Because normally, scientifically speaking, when you're talking about a true smile, you have your wrinkles come up here when you smile, right? And you feel it is not a smile from your face, it's a smile from your heart. That is also positive body language. Now, one more thing, as I told you, we should always, when you talk about rubbing the palms of your hand like this when you talk. Have you seen some people rubbing the palms of their hands when they are, talking? It shows that they have a positive feeling that you're going to listen to them. You're going to give a positive response. It's a sense of expectancy, of positive results. This is actually positive body language. Or say one more thing, when you're talking about people, girls normally, what they do is that if you're seated there and they cross their palms of their hands like this and they sit like this, right, with the face on the fingers, it's the face platter. It shows also positive body language. So that is what I had to talk about, the positive. Now let us go to the more important, because we normally tend to ignore it, the negative body language. let's talk about the, as I told you, the more important part, that is the negative body language. Now, what do you mean by negative body language? Something that makes it very irritating to be with one person. That person, say for instance, breaks the knuckles like this. It is the most irritating negative body language. Or say somebody, they are touching their ears, like this, or they are trying to do something with the hair like this, or trying to arrange the hair. These are all negative body language. Or they're biting their lips like this. That is also negative body language. Apart from that, some people, have you seen, they're biting their nails when they're nervous. That is also negative body language. Or say for instance, when you're talking and you are at a loss for the word, so you're using fillers. That is another negative body language. And apart, of course, one more thing for boys, they should not cross their legs and sit down. That is really not, it doesn't actually show a positive body language. And if we're talking about an interview, never ever cross your legs and sit down. You need to be seated properly, straight, with your hands on the lap, as I told you in my last class. And you should be seated straight and talking eye to eye, face to face. That is positive body language. Therefore, should not cross the leg when you're talking about, normally in the interviews. Apart from that, there are some people, have you seen that? They do this when they're talking. It is the stipple. When we're talking about the steeple, the church steeple, which is the mightiest, it shows, if you're talking about body language, it shows authority, dominance. Do not do this when you're talking with somebody. That is negative body language. Apart from that, some people, have you seen, they cover their mouth when they talk? They cover their mouth, and then it's an attempt. People think they are actually trying to hide something. Just like eye to eye, you avoid eye to eye. That is trying to hide something, no confidence. Similarly, covering. Of course, you need to, remember that if somebody is coughing and covering, that is a completely different question. But when you're talking, covering like this and talking, right, it shows that you are hiding something. You're trying to lie. That's therefore a negative body language. And apart from this, when you're talking about liars, there are many ways you can actually find out who is a liar. Say they are trying to do this with the nose, they are trying to, they are scratching their nose, they're scratching the ears, and of course they're pulling the collars like this, and they're rubbing the eyes also. These are all examples of negative body language. Therefore, I have told you so many things about the negative body language. Now, how is it that we correct those? Because it's very important to correct them. For me, what I feel is that you need to stand before the mirror, try to talk as if you are talking in an interview, and try to find out what your problem areas are. Whether you gesticulate, the way I'm gesticulating might be, whether your eyes are, eyebrows go up and down, whether your face has a twitch to it, whatever. And try to rectify them. Therefore, with this, I come to the conclusion of body language, and now we'll move on to the other part, which is the perfect handshake. The other part that's remaining now is the perfect handshake. What actually is the perfect handshake? When you meet somebody for the first time, or later also, you give a handshake. Now, when we talk about a handshake, we need to remember there are a few things that we need to keep in mind. For instance, your hands should not be sweaty or wet and cold. Secondly, the handshake should not exceed beyond 3 to 6 seconds. And thirdly, a handshake is the perfect when you have the web between the index finger and the thumb finger interlocking with the other person's like this, right? So this is the perfect handshake. So this is the part 3 of facing an interview, where I'm talking about the perfect handshake. Now, so we need to remember this perfect handshake is the equality handshake, when both the people feel they are at par with each other and they are equal to each other. But there are some people, there are many other types in fact of handshakes, and this is one of them. When if you are the person who is putting your hand like this and the other person puts his hand or his or her hand on top, it means you are the most submissive one. avoid something like that. It's a negative way of, negative handshake, or in fact, submissive handshake. Another one is that, have you seen some people when they meet, they put both the hands on top of yours, right? This way. It shows that it's in fact, it's one of the strongest of handshakes. Shows the person shares some sort of sincerity and a bonding with you, tries to develop, and apart, it's a very sincere way of handling a situation. It's also known as the politician's handshake, because the politician normally, he tries to give a handshake, does this. So it's a nickname sort of a thing, right? We also have, this is, I think, the worst type of handshakes that you can ever get. In fact, when your hands are wet and they are sticky, and then you give a handshake and the other person feels like this person is actually holding a fish in his hands. It shows a lack of commitment. It's a completely negative body language, and it shows a very, very weak personality. Avoid this completely. Be very careful about your hands, how your hands will feel to the person who is trying to give a handshake. The next, of course, is a bone breaker handshake. Bone breaker, because it denotes an aggressive personality trying to break your hands and your fingers when they're trying to give a handshake. So avoid this type of handshake also. Further, when we are this particular handshake, the fingertip handshake is normally seen to be given by a lady, a lady who appears very dainty, I guess, and wants to feel dainty as well, and very soft natured, will offer the hands like this. It's like offering not the handshake but the fingers, right? Therefore, this also shows somebody who doesn't have a very, very prominent and dominant personality, or somebody who doesn't feel equal and feels very subdued, and it's very weak sort of a handshake. A negative body language, of course. So with this, I come to the end of the chapter facing an interview, third section also. First was the body language that we talked about today, and second, the part on the handshake. So I hope you enjoyed this session with me, and if you have any doubts, any clarifications that you need, you can jot it down there in the section given below, and get back to me for any other topics you'd like me to talk on. Thank you so much.